I'm going to walk to the other side of the set.
Over there?
Okay, I'm going to
all the way over there.
I'm going to go talk to James Duthie, then I'm going to come back and talk to you guys again, okay? All right, here we go. And James Duthie's standing by right here in this beautiful monitor. Man, he looks handsome. James, it's great to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining us on the show right now. First of all, I think the whole country kind of expected Edmonton to win this thing. How about you? How surprised are you that Edmonton wasn't able to pull it off in Game 7 after those 3 incredible games they played in 4, 5, and 6?
I'm not going to make myself sound smart, Jay, because nobody would believe us anyway, but I think you're right. Everybody felt that, and we were sitting around last night at the Elbow Room, and all of us saying, whenever everybody starts to think one thing, you kind of got to think the other way. And it is so hard to win 4 in a row, and the reason nobody's done it since 42 is because you're playing a team in the Stanley Cup final that is awesome. And so having the Panthers coming back here, and, you know, we talked about the idea that this was the first time that the Oilers really had the pressure of trying to win the Stanley Cup. This is the first, you know, when you're down 3-0, 3-1, you can play a little bit looser because everybody's already written you off. But now it was real, and now all their families were flying in. And I think, look, maybe that's not the reason they lost. Such small margins in a game like this, but maybe it factors in where they're a little bit tighter. You know, we just talked to Sam Bennett, talked to Matthew Tkachuk. What did they all say? We played free tonight, which is a real compliment to them when it's a Game 7 and everything's on the line and you're at risk of blowing this 3-0 lead. I mean, to play free in a situation like that is a heck of a compliment for the Florida Panthers. Jay, this might be the greatest moment in the history of your show.
Look at this. How magnificent
Sergei
is
Bobrovsky.
this? He's standing there. He's waiting. He wants to come join you.
I don't know if you made him famous first or he made you famous first. Here it is.
He's
Sergei,
coming in.
You're on the Jay Onrait show. If you remember Jay, Jay's the one that's been yelling Bobrovsky for years on the highlight package. I think you sent him a jersey once and helped him out, but he's thrilled to have you on. What does this mean to you after years and years and the battle of this series to be a Stanley Cup champion?
It definitely means a lot. So it's a dream come true. So happy to be here. It's an amazing moment, and it's the hardest trophy to win, and for the reason, you know, and we're happy.
I'm always amazed, like, how you get over doubt. After the last 3 games and the way the Oilers came back, how did you and your team regroup and have the kind of performance you did tonight?
Yeah, I think, you know, like, to become a true champion, you have to overcome an adversity, and that was a good adversity in the Stanley Cup final, down 3 games, you know, in a row. And here we are, Game 7, and yeah, we came out hard, we came out together, and we done the job.
Just say, Jay, I did it for you, all right?
No, I'm not doing it for him. No.
I'm just kidding. Listen, congratulations. Go enjoy it with your family.
Thank you so much.
I tried, Jay. I really tried.
I
thought
that.
it would be the moment. You two have bonded for the entire career, but hey. He did it for his teammates and his family, and I tell you what, he's a Hall of Famer now. If he wasn't before, when you add the 2 Vezinas, and now you put a Stanley Cup performance in there, and nobody's going to remember that he didn't perform well in the 3 losses. Everybody's going to remember how great he was throughout the playoffs and how great he was in Game 7 winning a Stanley Cup.
What I'm going to remember is how excited he seemed to join us here on the show and how excited he seemed to be on with me. James, you know, you were in the building for games.
I thought.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just, I thought there was a bond between you. I guess I overestimated it.
Yeah, no, that's true. I thought there's probably a bigger bond between us. James, you were in the building in Edmonton for games 4 and 6. You got to witness that incredible crowd at Rogers Place. You got to see it. You got to witness it. And then you alluded to the fact, you know, there were 2 plane loads of family and friends who were flown in. There's lots of talk, like half the fans in the building were wearing Edmonton jerseys. This crowd has been so good. How can you describe how are you feeling about this fan base right now that got so close to maybe the greatest comeback in the history of the National Hockey League?
The one thing, Jay, you know, we've been on these ice a lot of years, a lot of Stanley Cup finals, and I always find that you feel much worse for the loser than you feel good for the winner, if that makes any sense. And I think that extends to their fans. I mean, maybe not in Calgary, but I think most of Canada did get behind this team, you know, because of McDavid and the way they won too. That was just a remarkable season from being written off at the beginning, about a month into the season, and coming back, and then having a run like this, being written off again. And those crowds in Edmonton were the loudest. I was in Atlanta for the Canada-Argentina game, and there was 70,000 screaming Argentinians. And then the next night I'm in Edmonton with 18,000, and they were just as loud as the 70,000. That's the loudest rink I've ever been in. And I thought there'd be more. Everywhere you went on the streets around Florida the last 24 hours, it was just Oilers jerseys everywhere. And so I thought there might actually be more in the building tonight, but, you know, Panthers crowd, great fans as well. They wouldn't sell all their tickets. There was maybe a couple thousand, I think, in here, but you could still hear the Go Oilers Go chant, sometimes getting drowned out by Go Panthers Go. But it's just a terrific run. And the devastation I'm sure they must feel right now, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl and company, and I know there's going to be all sorts of questions about their futures, but if they can regroup, they have a model right here in the Florida Panthers who lose it last year and come all the way back. Yeah. So if they can keep that core intact, I think they have a decent chance to be here again next year. Yeah,
excellent point about the Panthers losing last year, coming back and winning it this year. James, before I let you go and go talk to the panel, can I ask Frankie Corrado was so obsessed with the Florida Panthers cat noise that they play in the building. I'm just curious to know,
right.
How did Frankie enjoy that cat noise in person?
Right. Once again, Jay, with the hard-hitting questions, Frankie. He knows you're obsessed with the cat noise they play in the building.
Yes.
And he was wondering if it was as special as you thought it would be.
It's everything I thought it would be and more, actually, Jay. So thank you. It's quite intimidating. It feels like you're in the jungle, and they play it a lot. So it really adds to the experience here at the arena in Florida.
I'll get to Jamie and Frankie now while we have a minute. We just heard from Sergei Bobrovsky, and you're the goaltending guy here. Takes a lot he's a streaky guy.
Yeah.
And we saw it within this series. Brilliant in the first three, not really good in the last three. To be able to compose himself and play like that in a Game 7.
I just asked him if he changed his routine at all, because we saw that he didn't practice yesterday and took the day off, and then today I thought he was fantastic. Yes, you get a little bit of puck luck, but we were talking up top. He was extremely aggressive and locked in, and that kind of reminded me of the first three games where he was challenging. You could see he was tracking the puck really well. Yeah. And his team did a great job of boxing out so he could actually see pucks. That was the one thing that was the difference in between the last couple games, that Bobrovsky was getting clean looks at it.
That was the first thing he wanted to talk about as part of the activity going on behind us, was giving credit to the structure and how well his teammates played in front of him. And I asked him, and you probably talked to him as well, you know, where does his mental toughness come from? Mm-hmm. And he was very succinct. He said, losing. Yeah. No, he said, I had to learn how to win. I had to learn how to park certain things and keep my emotions in check. And let's be honest, I mean, growing up, winning the Stanley Cup wasn't at the top of his list. It was just when he came over, you know, started to develop into a star goaltender in the National Hockey League, that he appreciated and realized how hard it is. So a lot of years has gone into making Sergei Bobrovsky what he is.
Drakes, you've just joined us after being in there and doing interviews. It's always the best part is interviewing the champions seconds after they have. Was there any moments in there?
Oliver Ekman-Larsson. You know, he's, again, a new dad. I think it's little Leo is like 3 months old, so we were fortunate enough to interview OEL with his son. Obviously very, very emotional. Clearly a highlight of his year. He talked about the year it's been. He talked about his career. But that's the fun part, right, is watching the families enjoy the moment. You guys had, Matthew Tkachuk as part of the panel here live. Well, I was in the mayhem with him and Walt, his dad, and his mom, and the entire family. And let's just say that there's going to be some partying. There's going to be some celebrating tonight with that group.
Frankie, one more piece of hardcore analysis. How did they shut down the best player in the world when they did the opposite? I mean, Game 6 didn't matter if McDavid was shut down, but with everything on the line, I think we all expected him to come out here and have some sort of 4-point night. And the Barkov line just completely smothered him.
It was the Barkov line. It was the top two lines for the Florida Panthers. And the deep pairing of Aaron Ekblad and Gustav Forsling had a really strong night. Like, they're on the ice for the Janmark goal, but really you can say that's the one mistake that they made in this game. And that D pair had been exposed the last few games. It wasn't tonight. They did a good job of keeping McDavid slow to the outside. And I think if you think about what you would go into a Game 7 with, would you rather have the best goalie or the best player in the world? I think you would get some mixed answers on that. I think a lot of us would have thought Connor McDavid was going to have a massive night tonight. It wasn't the case, and I think you have to give the Florida Panthers a lot of credit for, as a team, especially those top two lines and that top D pair, how they were able to keep McDavid at bay.
One thing I noticed is I thought the Panthers, to a man, had great sticks tonight, taking away lanes where Edmonton, when they try to get creative, they make that extra pass. They weren't able to do that tonight because even talking to players out here, basically the Panthers just smothered and strangled the Edmonton Oilers from any hardcore chances in front. And when there was a chance, Bobrovsky made the save.